This is Pirlo. Oh, cheeky is that? A floater. And it's 2-2. It was arrogant, it was calculated, it was effective from Andrea Pirlo.
The Calcio Guys is a weekly podcast by Adreano, Donno, Gianni and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. We want to bring Calcio back to its roots in our communities and share stories from around the world about why we're passionate about the beautiful game. You can listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, including Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and Mixcloud. Give us your opinion on social media at The Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The intro song is Fireworks by Jazar. Very quiet week with Italian Calcio. We had to take a break. That's what, week 1 of 7 now of technically the Serie A off season. I guess we were spoiled a bit with all the games coming fast for us, and there still is Champions League, there still is Europa League, and this is still the Calcio Guys with Gianni Delacoli, Adreano Donardo, and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. And so we're gonna have Alex Donno on later. How you guys doing?
Or ready to talk some calcio.
I'm okay. I'm still getting over this past weekend for my teams in Champions League soccer, but I'm doing okay today. Hockey's kind of helping out.
Yeah. If any of our listeners are hockey fans, we currently have the Lightning Blue Jackets game on in 4th OT. So if we do stop in the middle of the podcast, it's because it's Adriano's team, the Lightning, anyways, and Gianni's still waiting for his team, the Bruins. At least Gianni only has one team in hockey.
It's
true.
That, man. I'm shocked about that one.
Okay, Calcio talk. So, Champions League last week, the second legs of the round of 16. Napoli goes to Barcelona. They get beat. Europa League, Roma played Sevilla. They get beat. Inter, nice little run they got going. They're going to play Shakhtar in the semifinal on Monday, I believe. We're going to talk lots of Inter later. But the biggest news of the Serie A this weekend, Juventus. Friday night, around, I think, 11 p.m. Italian time, they lose to Lyon. Last game of the season.
Ooh.
By about noon the next day, they fire their coach Maurizio Sarri after only one season. And by 7 o'clock, I think, Italian time, not even 24 hours after the last game, Andrea Pirlo, the player legend himself, named coach. Even as a Juve fan, I'm shocked. It's hard to even make a judgment because he hasn't even coached a game yet, but that in itself is a judgment too. It's a weird situation. I don't know. How do you guys see it, outside looking in?
I don't think it's a good idea because you're setting the man up to fail. If he finds success, great, good for him, but you're feeding the man to the lions, and what's going to happen is that I'm not saying he's inexperienced as a player, as a coach, especially for a top flight team. He's going to make plenty of mistakes, and a lot of the fans who don't understand the circumstances are going to lynch him, which is completely wrong. And I mean, Pirlo's a very confident guy, so I don't think it's going to affect him that much if his team goes down a slippery slope. But there's going to be some point where the negativity is going to kind of sink in and affect his mindset with coaching the team. And I was surprised Juve even fired Sarri after one season. I didn't even think that was going to happen. I thought they were going to give him at least another one to see if there was going to be any improvement, but I was wrong.
Yeah, no, I think I think when that news broke out, everybody exploded. Obviously, we can respect what Pirlo did as a player on the pitch. 06 is one to come to mind. He played for both my team in Milan and Nick's team in Juve. Found more success at Milan, but he found success. Top class guy, top class player, obviously, and an idol for many in our generation. But what a move! What a move for Juve. That's a ballsy move. He got what? Not even a week with the U23 Primavera, and now he's taking charge of Ronaldo and the boys up in the big leagues. It was crazy to me to see. And talking about experience, he has no experience, right? He just literally got his coaching license, and
no, he hasn't even completed it yet.
He hasn't completed it yet?
He has not completed
so that's
his
more
license.
Details.
On paper for the next month, they're going to use like one of his assistant coaches as the like bureaucratic coach because Andrea Pirlo does not have his UEFA coaching license yet. They hired a guy who doesn't have his coaching license yet.
There you go. So that's even more details to this story. And on the fact of Sarri out, I mean, I'm with Gianni on this one. I didn't agree with it. I think Nick felt the same way. Didn't really agree with it. Only year one under Sarri. And it was always that question mark. There's always the talk Sarri out, or whatever coach it is. But who are you going to go get? Is the grass greener on the other side? We all thought no, unless, a Zidane, a Pep would come, but it didn't look likely. Bringing in Pirlo, that was like the shock move of the year. Maybe, like Gianni said, maybe if he does find success, we're all for that. I don't see it happening just yet. The only thing I can see is, obviously Juve has locked in the midfield for many, many years. The fan base has been nagging them to get a midfielder, a quality midfielder in. Obviously, they're getting Artur coming in next year, but I think maybe Pirlo can pull a bit of strings to get some other pieces in the midfield because he knows that position best, and that's the only thing positive I can really, really see off the bat with Pirlo at Juve.
One thing I do want to add that I'm not sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, because I read it somewhere really quickly. I think they probably went for Pirlo because he's the cheapest option available.
Yeah,
and I think they still owe Maurizio Sarri 20 million euros even after firing him.
Yeah, probably.
That's crazy. Why don't you just keep him on the bench?
That's what
paying him. You know what I mean?
That's what I figure. I think it's just because it was just a backlash from the fan base and from the players. And look, they lost got booted out of Champions League by Lyon. I don't know the French league too well, but I heard they weren't even in the top four of the French league. They were like 7th or 6th from.
I don't know how true that was.
That game, I don't want to talk too much about that game, but
just
there was so much bullshit going in that second leg too. Like we could do a whole hour just on the awful refereeing.
Of course,
we're
but
not going to talk about that.
Just to say that was the cherry on top. Juve this season, being the dominant team that they have been for this decade, only coming home with one trophy at the end of the year, it's a little suspect. Obviously, they got booted out of Champions League. Coppa Italia, they didn't win. For me, it's a failure of a season. I'm sorry to say it for the Juve fans, but it's a failure of a season. Yes, they got number 9. Maybe they'll get number 10 next year. We'll see. But firing Sarri, not going after a Zidane or a Pep, bringing in Pirlo, a lot of question marks with this Juve team, in my opinion.
One thing I'll say is initially I was totally against the Sarri firing just because he only had the one season. And it's like, I've said it all year, the players he has, especially does not suit his system, You could hire the best, pizza chef, pizza maker in the world, right? But if you go to Maxi to Super C to get frozen vegetables, canned sauce, and a pita bread, this guy's not going to make you a good pizza, right? You got to get a good chef. You got to get the good ingredients, right? So right now, Juve doesn't have the good ingredients. They're looking for a good chef to use those ingredients in a different way. But upon reading, I think there was a lot more problems with management. I think Sarri was Paratici's hiring, and Agnelli didn't like that, and apparently some players didn't get along with Sarri. He didn't go with lo stile Juve. And Pirlo is, he's a former player. He played with some of these guys. So I personally think with Pirlo, it's either going to be the best signing in the world and they're going to go out and win the treble next year, or it's the worst signing in the world and banter era at Juventus begins and their dynasty is over. I feel like there's no in between.
I read a funny tweet that now Sadi, with all his time off, is just going to buy Jorginho privately and just practice passing drills in his backyard.
Yeah.
While he smokes on the side.
With his 20 million euros that he gets from Juve without working.
Sadi's laughing, man. I'm telling you, he's laughing on the sidelines over there.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, the man worked hard to get to this level, and even if he did get cut short, I mean, the guy has the Europa League title. Like he won a Scudetto. Yeah. Like he from a man who started from the bottom, he reached the top of the mountain. It's not the perfect top, but he reached pretty high, and I think he's somewhat satisfied with that.
Okay, so we do have other things to talk about. One last question from social media from our friend Jerry Mancini. Do you believe Juventus will win the Scudetto next season with Pirlo as manager? I personally think it's way too early to say that. We have to see what kind of mercato they have, what kind of players they bring in. Yeah, it's way too early for me to say that. If I would have to pick, I'd still personally say yes, because as Gianni mentioned on our first show this season, Juventus has that star players. They have the Dybala, the Ronaldo, the Chesney, De Ligt. They could elevate their game to the next level, and I don't think the rest of the city currently is there. But we have to see what kind of summer they have. Yes or no? Early prediction with Jerry's question: do they win the Scudetto?
You want to go first, Adri?
No, I'll go first.
Okay, well, because it depends. Because I'm still gonna say Juve wins it, just because of the quality of the team. Even though other teams are making additions to the roster, Lazio, if the Silva transfer actually gets confirmed, become much better in the midfield. And if it's true that Inter, because the current rumor I saw is that Inter is ready to buy Tonali off of Brescia, and it's almost signed. Then that's a big target for Juve that's off the list, and I honestly don't believe Zaniolo is going to be leaving Roma, no matter how much Juve wants to throw at Roma. So Juve probably will make some minor upgrades, while other teams are going to make major upgrades, and the gap will go from like this to probably like this. But Juve still has that nice little cushion, and I still think, even though Pirlo is very inexperienced, I still think Juve could win the Scudetto.
Yeah, I think personally, for me, I don't care. They win it, they don't win it. It doesn't bother me. No sweat off my back. Do they get number 10? I'm going to say yes, too. We said it a lot. Me and Gianni said it a lot for this season, going on from last year, that they would win it. Obviously, they still have one of, if not the best player in the world in Cristiano Ronaldo. If he's on his game, if he sticks around, he's dynamite. So I think, like the guy said, the quality of players that they'd have, maybe can carry Pirlo along. We'll see how that works. And look, we had a crazy year in 2020 this season, ups and downs, and Juve still managed to do it, right? So I think they can do it. Not that I want them to, but I see them doing it come next season again.
Gianni, so you mentioned Lazio, David Silva. He's close to Lazio. Not official yet. The season finished a week ago. I find the mercato still isn't picking up. I don't know. Maybe I'm on Twitter less or something, or maybe I'm not following the right people. But I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like at this point, like in normal seasons, it's like rumors left, right, and center. It's been kind of quiet, maybe because there's still Champions League and everything. But the major one is David Silva to Lazio. Obviously, that's huge for the Serie A. I'm a huge fan of that. For me, it's just a question of where is he going to play, because you already have Luis Alberto as your cam. If I'm not mistaken, that's where kind of the role he played in Manchester. He could possibly drop back, or you could try to change your formation to have two center mids that are going to go high up the pitch in Alberto and Silva, the two Spanish guys. But I'm just curious where he's going to play. But still, it's a huge signing for them.
Yeah, I think it's a big move. I think the Laziali are pretty happy if that does go through. Obviously, we see the reports, Fabrizio Romano, all the reports that we see, that it's pretty much almost a done deal. Just it should be happening in the next couple of days. But yeah, I agree. Where's he going to fit? But I don't know. I don't care where he's going to fit. But what a scary midfield if all the guys stick around: Alberto, SMS, Leiva, and the addition of Silva in there. But I think David Silva and Luis Alberto can complement each other. These guys are free roam. a la Papu Gomez, a la Dybala. These guys you put them wherever you want on the pitch, and they can cause havoc. They can create magic. These are the type of players that they are, that they can kind of go wherever. I hope he fits in Inzaghi's plans, because I definitely think they can use him to elevate their game a bit more than this year. But I think it's exciting news for Lazio fans.
Lazio also has the confidence knowing that they have the ability to be a potential championship winning team. And they knew that this year there was just a little bit of a slip up at the end, and that's what caused them to spiral down. So the addition of Silva just bolsters that roster, gives them extra confidence. And I think it's always been important, but I think since 2010, by Spain, 2008 and then 2010 by Spain, both years, the midfield's been emphasized as probably the most important position in modern soccer. Whereas days of old, you could probably say the defense was probably the most important position. But then we have, throughout the years, there's always been that one amazing midfielder that's always surprised everybody, whether you've had Maradona in the mid position or if you had maybe Roberto Baggio in the mid position. But overall, midfield is a very, very, very key section of your field. And if you have an amazing midfield, your team can do wonders even if you have just the most average of defenses. But in Lazio's case, they have probably one of the best strikers in the world right now. So imagine if you add David Silva to the mix, it's going to be great for them.
Okay, so the big news of the weekend. So we are recording this Tuesday night. So I don't want to go too much into detail. Atalanta is playing on Wednesday, but it's the game we've been waiting for what? So they advanced in March, and they were announced to play PSG in July. So about a month we've been waiting for this particular game. Mbappe, he might be on the bench. He's not starting, so that's a good thing for Atalanta. But they're without Ilicic. But hey, for a team like Atalanta, where 5 years ago they were battling relegation to play PSG in Champions League quarterfinal, a chance in the semifinal on the line, a one game, winner takes all. It's exciting. It's exciting. I'm personally not going to make any predictions because it is a tough one to predict. Atalanta has surprised everybody. PSG is a good team. I think PSG has the talent. Atalanta has the team. But what's going to prevail in this situation? Is it the team mentality or is it the individual talent? It's tough to say, but it's going to be fun tomorrow.
I'm super psyched. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super psyched. This is, like Nick said, the game that we were all looking forward to after all the trash talk that we saw on social media. Atalanta, Champions League, all that jazz, all that noise. They gotta shun that out and put it all on the line. I've said it every time we've spoken about Atalanta, Champions League, or just even in the league. With the progression that they've had, they have to go out there and fight, and they have all the time. And they have nothing to lose, really. This is an accomplishment in itself to make it this far in Champions League, to continuously make the Champions League competition for the following season, now 2 years in a row. So I'm excited. I think, like Nick said, that kind of analogy, the team or the individual talent, I'm going to go with the team. I think it's usually like that. Teams that have that togetherness, that have that the good quality of player, and the system to go around it, the mentality usually prevail. Not always there, but I think they can surprise a lot of people, even if they don't come out on top. I think they can surprise and show the world what Atalanta's all about.
Before I say my point, just want to say the Bruins-Canes game has been delayed till tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
My God, that's crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. 16 overtimes later.
So PSG does have the star power, and in very clutch games, that star power can rise up and just dominate the game, and can win a game on its own. Last year, when they lost to Man U, when Man U only had two starters, I believe Neymar was injured for that game as well. Even though it was
it's either that or it's his sister's birthday. I don't know. This guy, one of the two.
All I know is that Neymar wasn't playing that game. Yeah. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory is kind of hazy. He's available for tomorrow, right? There's been no.
He's available. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they have their full field, they can honestly just showcased their power. But speaking to a friend recently, there's a very key point that a lot of people bring up that I always keep on forgetting, is that in the French league, they're not truly tested. They're never truly tested. And Atalanta is a team that if you underestimate them, will punish you. So we can actually, the possibility of an upset is pretty high. I'd say it's more like a 40-60, whereas the 60 is PSG, but a 40% chance that Atalanta could win it. I mean, if Atalanta wins it, great. I'd be super happy because that would really upset everybody's Champions League predictions and whatnot. But it would come as a surprise to me if PSG comes up with maybe a 3-2 win or like a 4-3 type, like a big scoring game type of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun to watch. And okay, so Napoli, they went to Barcelona. Between the Napoli.
Are you sure they went to Barcelona? I don't think they showed up from what I was watching.
they definitely showed up with nice jerseys. I like those kits.
Yeah,
Napoli has different kits for the Champions
The white
League.
ones, they were sharp. Yeah, they were nice.
What was
it? Was tough. It was tough. Tough game.
It was tough.
Yeah,
but man, I know we like to complain about the officiating in the Serie A, but holy shit, UEFA's just. Wow, they just call everything. They just call everything. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
maybe it's because UEFA uses referees from different associations, so they see things different ways. But in the Juve game, that Bentancur penalty was just awful, and then they made that one up with the Paya handball that was never a handball. And then the Messi handball, I don't know, did it hit his hand? Did it hit his chest?
Yeah, that was weird. That was a gift.
And then Inter. With their handball controversies and fouls and this and that, it's just too much. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that's the fault of that's not what killed Napoli.
No. What killed Napoli was not actually showing up for the game, and Messi and all of pretty much Barca's offense just having fun with that Napoli backline. And watching the game, Barca was phenomenal. Like their 4-3-3 was so in form. Like it was great. If you rewatch the game, you could see how straight their lines were. Like they were there to play the game and win the game. Whereas Napoli, at some points, like as much as I love them doing that, like Koulibaly would have to rush up and join the offense for some reason because nobody else was getting involved. They were not ready for Barcelona, and they got punished hard. In terms of officiating, I do have one thing to complain about in the card section, but it's just more of a venting. It's not more of like that stupid bad call type of thing. Obviously you could say officiating was a bit 6s and 7s, but at the end of the day, if your team's not going to play well, you can have all the calls going your way, but if the other team is clearly better than yours, they're going to win. And Messi, yes, he got that beautiful goal where he's falling and he just pops it in. But that was just a bunch of sloppy mistakes by Napoli. He had 3 guys around him. Can't anybody just stop the ball, hold possession, and then move with it? Like, why does everybody have to flail for it? But that's I don't want to get on topic. Barca were clearly a better team. Messi was showcasing why he's in the argument of greatest of all time, along with Ronaldo. And you can't beat that.
Yeah, no, it was always a tough game. It was always a tough matchup when we saw the matchup that Napoli was going to get. Obviously, before COVID, that was a big game in Naples. The 1-1, a huge game, and it gave them a chance, right? It gave them a chance to actually, advance against Barcelona, which we've seen Roma do in the past, right? And I think maybe I don't want to blame it on timing. COVID maybe had an impact, whatever, this and that, but. At the end of the day, I think, like Gianni said, Barca came out to play more than Napoli. Messi was at his best, and Napoli came a bit short. I think it's still they should still keep their heads up high. I think Gattuso will instill that into them, and they go on to next season. Obviously not in Champions League there, but going into next season, heads up high. I think it was never going to be easy, like I said, and I think they could have gotten a better result. All the action happened in the first 45 minutes, and it was game over after that. It was kind of just like a snooze fest after that. But I think if bounces could have went their way, maybe something could have happened. But at the end of the day, like Gianni said, like I'm saying right now, Barcelona came out to play.
Okay, so we're gonna have Alex Donno on in a couple of minutes. moving away from the Serie A, the Serie B is still going on.
Craziness.
Crazy.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw it today, but Spezia played Chievo, and Chievo was up 2-0 after the first leg in Verona, and then Spezia went up 3-0 in this one, and then Chievo got a penalty in the 93rd minute, and they scored. And initially, when I saw the score, I thought Chievo was going to advance because of 3-3 away goal. But in fact, La Spezia is advancing to the promotion final because it's the higher ranked team in case of a tie advances. You know what? I like that. I like that. For
crazy
for the promotion. Spezia, they're not a regular Serie A team, that's for sure. And on the other side, it's Pordenone versus Frosinone. I think we talked about it last week, but do you guys have if you're going to take one of these three teams left, who would you take to go back up in the Serie A?
Well, I think, we were talking about it last week a bit, even off air, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I still like the Frosinone shout to move up. Obviously, they've seen a bit of glimpse in Serie A. They went down, went back up, stuff like that. But it would be nice to see them. I mean, really, it would be nice to see any of these teams, especially for like the Spezias, like Nick said. Haven't seen Serie A in God knows how many years. Pordenone, I don't know if they've ever seen it. I don't know the statistics on that exactly, right? So I don't know. I'm gonna back Frosinone. I think Nesta's Frosinone, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So that for me hits home a bit more too. To see him do well and bring up Frosinone to face his former teammate and people in Inzaghi at Benevento and Gattuso at Napoli. It would be a spectacle to see. For those reasons, I think I would like to see Frosinone advanced. Well, first they got to get past a tricky Pordenone team, and then we'll see what they can do against La Spezia if that does happen. But I'm rooting for Frosinone.
Same here, just because of that reason, just because I want to see like Pirlo, both Inzaghi,
and Pirlo.
Yeah, Nesta, like Gattuso, all just coaching in Serie A, and then if the tweet that I sent out, if for some reason if Roma's able to get Totti to come back in some shape or form with De Rossi, that would be just hilarious. It would just be interesting to see. And it's funny how if that happens, Buffon is still playing. These guys are moving on with their lives. Buffon doesn't want to let go.
2006 reunion, I swear.
Oh man, it would be hilarious. I wanted for that, just to see the interactions between the coaches.
Yeah, it would be nice to see Frosinone for sure. But I think Pordenone. I think just because of what happened with Inter a couple of years ago, it'd be nice to see Pordenone come up. Yeah. But if Frosinone comes up, it would be Frosinone, Benevento, and Crotone coming up at the same time. Yeah. And so pretty much three southern teams, which would be nice to see. But Pordenone would be their first Serie A campaign. And by the way, Pordenone plays at the Dacia Arena where Udinese plays. So that would be cool to have another team come up. That already shares a Serie A stadium, and we already have Inter and Milan, and then Genoa and Sampdoria. And Roma and Lazio. So if they come up, they would be the fourth stadium that shares two teams in the Serie A. Wow. Speaking about Inter, we're going to have Alex Donno on from the Calcio Connection next here on the Calcio Guys. Welcome back to the Calcio Guys. Joining us now, all the way from Miami, is Alex Donno from the Calcio Connection. Alex, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing great. So glad to be back. I hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah,
always.
We're a bit disappointed. We had it's one week now that there's no Serie A, so almost like we don't have anything to do. At least there's other sports on now.
Well, not to mention, I mean, there's still plenty going on in Serie A with Pirlo getting appointed, Conte being a lunatic. So, I mean, there's never a dull moment.
That's for sure.
So last week Inter beat Getafe 2-0, and then yesterday it was 2-1 against Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League. So we're going to get right into it, Alex, and we have a bunch of social media questions. And I'm just going to ask right away. We have a question from I lost it here. Oh, Calcio Club official. Straight up, do you think Inter can win the Europa League?
I think they can. They have apparently, I mean, to my eyes, they've really been peaking. I think they've played over these last 4 matches, going back to the Napoli win 2-0, followed up by Atalanta, Getafe. The Getafe was not a perfect performance, but I love the way that they grew into the game and then closed out the game. And then I thought the Leverkusen, even though the scoreline was closer than Getafe, I thought that the Leverkusen was the much more convincing performance, and they really probably should have been 3-1 or 4-1 up by the time that game was over. So, based on the recent form, I think they're playing probably as well as they've played since September or early October, when they had a great start to the year. If they can keep this up, I absolutely think they can win this competition. When it comes to the semifinal draw, they have the more favorable semifinal matchup than Manchester United on the other side.
Yeah.
With Inter, they're going to match up with Shakhtar, when Manchester United, I think, has a pretty tough outing against Sevilla. So I thought that getting Leverkusen out of the way was important for reaching the final. And then once you get to the final, I think you can argue that Inter has been in the best form of although Sevilla actually is impressive as well, but Inter, I think, has been in the best form of the 4 teams left. And so, like I always say about Inter, I rarely go into a big game completely confident, because they're just such a pazza and such a Jekyll and Hyde team. You never really know what you're going to get, but based on recent performances, I absolutely think they can win this competition.
Yeah, I think it's well said. I think, like you said, Alex, favorable matchup. Sometimes that doesn't mean you're guaranteed victory, but we do like Inter's chances on the side that they are. Obviously, Sevilla is a tough European team to face. Manchester United as well. So I totally agree. So the next question from your co-host and your great friend Jerry Mancini, our great friend Jerry Mancini,
totally
the legendary Jerry Mancini that we've had on our podcast as well. But first off, he asked, do you believe Lukaku has been the best signing in Serie A this season? He follows that up by also, what has made him an impactful player for Inter, and is this all is this all pasta maybe he gets to eat in Milan, or all the vino cannolis he has access to? So Jerry loves his food. Jerry loves hating other teams, but he does pose a good question on the Lukaku. I personally think Lukaku has been great. What are your thoughts about that, Alex?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think he loves the risotto in Milano. That's the specialty. I think that's what he really digs into. But actually, it to me, I think he looks a little leaner with Inter than he did during the Manchester United days, at least his final season there. So I think that Conte probably has him avoiding a lot of the delicious Italian food. So that's too bad for him. I mean, yeah, and it's something when Jerry asked if he might even be the best new addition signing in Serie A. It's something we talked about a little bit on our podcast. I think he's up there when it comes to impactful signings on big clubs. I mean, I thought De Ligt had a overall very good year at Juventus. I think he's up there. Even when you talk about even January additions, I mean, think about what Zlatan added to Milan for half a season. That was tremendous. But I put Lukaku right up there because really he is so important to Conte ball when it comes to his hold-up play and his strength and his size, that the way Conte runs the attack just cannot function without Lukaku and what he does. And then you throw on top of it, he still has 1 or maybe even 2 more games left this season in the Europa League. He already has 31 goals in all competitions this season. He really exceeded the expectations of most Interisti. There were some that really didn't even want him to be signed last summer because of how much he costs. And, you always hear, Premier League fans were really dogging the guy because he had a tough time at United in the later season or two there. But I was always supportive of that signing because I could see how badly Conte wanted it, and I knew that he had the characteristics to really perform well, and I didn't even imagine he would have as good of a year as he had. I hopefully in the future we see him score some goals against Juventus. That's one thing he hasn't done yet, and I know that's part of his reputation is that he's going to score a lot of goals against the smaller clubs and not as many against the bigger ones. I think overall he's done very well, and I think he's definitely like a finalist for most impactful signings in Serie A.
Not scoring against big teams sounds a lot like Dries Mertens. He's another player notorious for that. Well, speaking of needing key players for big performances, obviously one big performance is the semifinals that's coming up against Shakhtar. And what do you think Inter needs to do to beat Shakhtar?
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, I didn't get a chance to watch Shakhtar today, but they steamrolled Basel, from what I heard, a 4-1 final scoreline. So I can really speak on Inter's behalf without knowing too much about Shakhtar. For Inter, it's whatever they did in that Leverkusen game. Now, I would like them to capitalize on more opportunities, but for the better part of these last 4 matches, the mentality has been there, the intensity has been there, and they've been more consistent than normal. I mean, one of the big things that Inter really struggled with throughout the Serie A campaign, and when you consider how close the Scudetto race ended up being. Now, from Juventus' standpoint, I think if they hadn't locked it up so quickly, they would have ended up with more than 83 points. But still, I think Inter had the opportunity to be an even bigger contender for the Scudetto if they didn't have so many uneven performances and if they didn't drop 22 points from winning position throughout the year. But they've shown a lot more of a killer instinct, I think, over these past 4 games. And so if they can really continue to find the success in the midfield where Nicolo Barella has been playing his best ball over these last couple of games, and Lukaku has just been tremendous. So if he can maintain that form, and Lautaro's been a little bit better. Lautaro struggled throughout, June and much of July, and maybe his head is in Barcelona, or I don't know what's going on with the guy, but he's been a little bit better over the last couple of match days. So I just think you don't break what's working right now. Don't tinker with it too much. So I think if they can kind of keep the same intensity and the same attitude that they've had in recent games, I would certainly expect them to more than likely beat Shakhtar and advance to the final.
It would be kind of funny if they get to the final, because 10 years ago they played in that Champions League final. So you get 2010, 2020, and in 2010 there still was the H1N1 pandemic. Now we're in COVID-19 pandemic. So just to put that out there, but the stage is definitely different. Europa League, Champions League. 10 years ago they were fighting for a treble, but I think for Inter, is it safe to say this is an important trophy to win? Regardless.
Yeah, it is an important trophy. I mean, and you look at the type of momentum that teams can get from winning trophies, and that can range anywhere from even Coppa Italia. I think that when Lazio won that trophy last year, it really helped to kind of propel their confidence and help them have an amazing campaign the following year. And I think the same thing might happen with Napoli. I think Napoli, 7th place is not where they wanted to finish, but they were so resurgent after the pandemic and they won that Coppa Italia. I think that that's going to be a nice springboard for them. And I think it's the same way for Inter. If they can win a Europa League, a lot of people were hoping and some even expecting Conte to win some trophy his first year at Inter. And this is his final chance. I know that there are even some rumors and speculation with people thinking he still maybe has an uncertain future beyond this summer, that Conte could still walk away or have some kind of an amicable divorce with Inter. I think that I think Conte has to look at this situation and say, if I were to leave Inter, like, what am I going to do? Is another big club going to want to hire me after I threw a tantrum and walked away? Or, am I really going to find another immediate landing spot that gives me a better chance to win important trophies? So I think maybe he can kind of solidify his commitment to another year, another 2 years to Inter if he can win this Europa League. I think that'll be a nice way to sort of consummate this marriage between Conte and Inter management.
Yeah, and I think, actually, we'd like to hear your thoughts about it. But year one under Conte, what did you make of it? Would you label it success? Would you label it failure? Would you be right in between? What's your stance on year one under Conte?
I label it a success if I'm consistent with my preseason expectation. I know that if people kind of changed, like move the bar around December when Inter was in first place and said, okay, I know preseason I wasn't expecting much, but now they're in first place, they should win a Scudetto, they should get to the Champions League quarterfinal, like whatever people were thinking at that time. I don't really think that's a fair way to evaluate if you're always moving the goalposts because, honestly, preseason, I know that Conte, of course, has the track record and the reputation for winning trophies in the first year of clubs that he joins, but I still look at how far behind Inter was the last 2 seasons and how much ground he had to make up. In preseason, I was expecting Inter to be maybe a third-place team fighting for second place, maybe making a deep run, perhaps winning Coppa Italia. I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't do that. And so based on that, I mean, they actually equaled the point total that they had 10 years ago when they won the treble. They take second place in Serie A. They finished the season very strong. Coppa Italia, they were bounced in the semifinals, so they did improve in that competition. They're in the Europa League semifinal. So, listen, it wasn't, the champagne popping season that maybe some were hoping for, but I absolutely label it a success. Now, hopefully, again, Conte doesn't decide to walk away after all this progress, but I think it was a successful season for sure.
I just wanted to throw that out there. That question was from Joseph, our friend Joseph at Calcio Fan Blogs. I just want to plug Joseph because he's always so great to us.
And speaking of Calcio Fan Blogs, I'll plug in the second question that they submitted to us. What do you think are Inter's biggest needs in the next transfer window, or what areas needs the most addressing to?
Left wing back, I start there. They've addressed right wing back, I think, in a very quality way, signing Achraf Hakimi. The wing back situation at Inter. We know how important wing backs are for Conte ball, and they've had a handful of players filling those roles who are good but not great. Candreva has his limitations. Biraghi on the left is a player I do not rate, and although he did have some good moments, but not a lot of consistency. Asamoah kind of disappeared after picking up an injury. They did sign Ashley Young and Victor Moses, who both have played pretty well, but if they really want to take the big step forward to compete for Scudetti and compete in Europe, you need to have world-class wingbacks to run Conte's system. I think they've gotten that on the right with Hakimi. I'd like to see them be ambitious enough to really go for a guy like Robin Gosens on the left. I don't necessarily think, he's a favorite or he's coming to Inter, but I think that's the type of profile that I like. And so I would start there. It's really hard to say what's needed at the striker position because it looks right now like Lautaro Martinez is probably staying. So between Lukaku, Lautaro, and they've signed Alexis Sanchez to a long-term deal, who's done very well since the restart. They'll probably get a new fourth striker and maybe loan out Esposito. So it's I wouldn't expect them at fourth striker to make a blockbuster signing. And at midfield, they're just pretty optimistic at this point that Sandro Tonali could be on the way, which I like that a lot. It's not, set in stone yet. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that happens.
It's not going to happen, Alex. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's coming to Milan.
I'm cautiously optimistic. But
I had to throw that job in there.
But that's certainly a player that I rate, and I think that if Stefano Sensi can have anywhere close to a healthy 2020, 2021, that'll almost feel like a new signing because he hasn't been impactful in so long. And I think they've got a lot of talent at center back. Maybe they'll sell Milan Skriniar, and I hate that idea. I hate it because even though he's been bad in a back three, Skriniar is elite in a back four, and I would expect Skriniar, he could be around a lot longer than Conte is around, so I would hate to sell him, but they may sell him. But even if they do sell him, between Bastoni, who's been very good, Diego Godin, not a very good season, but he has looked good recently, and it looks like he's staying. De Vrij, has been world class these last couple of years. So, and I'm kind of running through all the position groups in my mind. The last thing that I do think there's a tremendous need is goalkeeper. You're right. For as good as Handanovic has been overall, he's getting older. and they haven't had a backup for him really, because Daniele Padelli is laughably bad. He's been Handanovic's backup, so I would love a guy that I rate is Juan Musso from Udinese. I would love them to make a serious bid for Musso because he could be a Handanovic backup this coming season, and the replacement for Handanovic long term. So yeah, I think left wing back, goalkeeper, probably the biggest two needs.
Yeah, we actually got you kind of answered two of our questions from Genoa CFC Canada from Fabrizio. He asked Messi at Inter, Bufala or Truth, and then the goalkeeper he asked who's going to be the goalie after Handanovic. You mentioned it there, but is there really a keeper as an Inter fan you want them to pursue?
The guys that I like are, Musso, who I mentioned. I also really like Cragno with Cagliari. I think that those two would be my targets. It's interesting that our friend from Genoa sent that question because it looks like Radu, who Inter have owned, that may be the most realistic guy to come back and be Handanovic's backup. I don't necessarily think Radu would be the goalkeeper of the future for Inter, so I don't think he'll be the long-term Handanovic replacement, but it would be a big upgrade at backup. As far as the Messi thing, listen, as far as I can tell, it's fantasy football, and I'm going to label it that until something really concrete happens, because his father, Messi's father, and Messi buying real estate in Milano, to me that's not concrete enough to say that he's coming to Inter. I mean, it seems like a good place to invest in some real estate and for tax purposes. So I really don't know. I can tell you that that Inter's ownership under Suning, they are incredibly ambitious, and I would not doubt if they have like some kind of like an exploratory committee that they've thrown together to look into the economic feasibility of signing Messi, and maybe they feel like they could raise enough sponsorships and really be able to afford it. But there's so many angles to the story, because even if Suning decides they can afford Messi, you still need Messi to decide, A, he wants to divorce Barcelona, which I'm not sure he wants to do, and B, if he does leave Barcelona, it can literally play, for, not necessarily any club in the world, because you'd have to be able to afford him, but he could pick, any club that can actually pay his wages. I don't necessarily know if Inter is the one that he would choose. So when you're talking about a name that big, I'm not going to put much stock into it until I see something concrete.
I think that's the way to go. But I think Zanetti can pull some strings there. Maybe he can get the Messi over there.
I think Ronaldo, Messi Twitter would absolutely love it. Like there's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of marketing.
Oh, for sure.
Messi to Inter. But yeah, Idri, you got another question from our friend Fabrizio.
Yeah, Fabrizio firing guns blazing with these questions this week, like he always does. The great Fabrizio out there in Toronto. But he also asks Alex. I know it's a little mean, but will we see Inter winning Champions League next year, where Juve has always failed? A little friendly jab to Nicholas over here. But what are your thoughts, Alex, about Champions League, Inter? What can you make of it? Do you think it's possible? Obviously it's a tough road, but can you see it happening before Juve?
I don't know. I'm gonna lean to no, only because they've really struggled to close out games in that competition. Obviously they've only been back the last 2 years. Before that, it was like a 6 or a 7 year drought. But it was the same story 2 years in a row, where they started off pretty well in the group stage. They controlled their own destiny to advance, and then you would just get these collapses. And I like what they're doing in the Europa League, but it's not the same quality of competition. And I think unless they win Europa League, they're probably going to be in pot 3 for the Champions League draw, which means they're going to be in a tough group more than likely, because there are going to be 2 teams with a better coefficient in their group. So I don't know. I think that the goal for this coming year would be to actually get through the group stage and maybe get to the quarterfinal. I'm a firm believer in like incrementally learning how to win. Like, to me, for Inter to win Champions League, I wouldn't really consider it until a couple of years down the road if I can see them actually get through the group stage, maybe win a couple games in the knockout stages. I just don't think they're going to go from 0 to 60 in one season. So maybe 2-3 years down the road, I could expect that. But for right now, I just don't think it's realistic.
That's
Okay,
fair.
so then how about we scale it back a bit? Do you think Inter can finally end Juventus' Serie A dominance? This comes from our friend Daniel Lucci. Or do you think Inter's probably going to leave a lot of their fans heartbroken and Juve's probably going to get their 10th title in a row?
I can say, I can say that it seems ripe. The opportunity seems ripe. And I'm saying this before the transfer window is officially open in Serie A, so maybe Juve really surprises everyone, and maybe Inter loses out on a couple of their targets. So, but I just, without having actually seen Andrea Pirlo manage a game, because he hasn't done it. You have to look at it. You have to look at it on paper and say, the opportunity you have in going up against a Juve team that did win the Scudetto, but still had an uninspired season and only managed 83 points. From an Inter standpoint, you say, okay, we're the ones with the high-paid season manager. We're the ones that have been ascending and signing big names and quality players the last couple of years. If there ever was an opportunity to end that Juve run of dominance, you would look at it and say it's got to be this coming season before Pirlo even has a chance to really know what he's doing out there. Because, I think Andrea Pirlo could end up being an unbelievable manager because we know he has a tremendous mind for the game. He was a coach on the field when he played. I just wonder if he's going to hit the ground running or if it's going to take a little time for him to really develop his style, and he's going to take some lumps the first year. So I make no guarantees with Inter because they're such a crazy club. But I feel, I'll say this, I feel better about Inter's Scudetto chances heading into this coming season than I have in close to a decade.
Yeah, that's well said. And Alex, we don't have any more social media questions regarding Inter for you, but considering the Champions League is still going on this week, it's down to the quarterfinals. There's four matchups this week. Quick thoughts on maybe some of your favorites left in the competition, or even how Atalanta is going to do against PSG.
I like Bayern. They've going back to pretty early in the competition. They were my pick to win Champions League this year, so I'm going to stick to that. They've backed it up on the pitch. I thought actually Barcelona looked surprisingly good against Napoli because I actually thought Napoli was going to win that game because Barca, looked pretty disorganized and just out of it at the end of their La Liga campaign. So Barca did impress me. Maybe I doubted them a little bit too much too early. But a thought on Atalanta, I think they might pull off the upset against PSG. I mean,
Alex,
I so wish they had Ilicic with them because they've got like 5 or 6 other guys who are capable of scoring for fun. But Ilicic was having such an amazing season, and it's terrible to see whatever's going on in his life that's keeping him away from football. I hate it because if Ilicic was around, they could run roughshod on PSG, I think. But I think that they have a legit chance to win this thing. They do.
Just a little quick stat about Ilicic. I saw something that somebody did some advanced stats of soccer on Twitter, and they did like a simple X dimension, Y dimension graph of offensive generation versus quality chances against like top teams or whatnot. And Ilicic was really high up there. Like he was like top right of the first quadrant. It was fantastic. Like the guy's playing well beyond his mind right now.
I love him, and it's crazy that even without Ilicic, they've got like 6 guys on that team who could score from anywhere on the pitch. It's crazy, but I wish they had his services for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're all 4 of us. I guess we can say that we're rooting for Atalanta over PSG.
Yeah.
It would be a dream. It would be a dream to get past a team like PSG, and like we said, it's already an achievement that they're there, but it would be the cherry on top if they can do that as well. But quickly, Alex, before we do let you go, I want to just ask another quick question concerning Inter, concerning a guy that you mentioned that has been totally in form at the moment, but Romelu Lukaku. Does he have what it takes to be capocannoniere next year? Obviously, 23 goals this year on the season. Big first campaign in Italy. Do you think he sets his feet firmer in the ground and makes a real stride for Capo Cannoniere next year?
I don't know, only because and I mean this is a huge compliment to him, that he's such an unselfish player. Yeah. He's known to give up penalty kicks, and I wish he didn't do it so much, because when he gave up a penalty kick to Lautaro, it probably cost him that Bologna match a month and a half ago. And and oftentimes he seems to take as much pride in like setting up teammates for chances. So I don't know, unless I think it's possible, because this year was so crazy where he had two guys over 30 goals. Like, when do you see that? So if you go back to like more of a normal season where you've got people like in the mid-20s, then I could see, like, it would not surprise me if Lukaku won Capo Cannoniere. It would not surprise me. But I think if you've got guys like scoring into the 30s like Cheeto and Ronaldo did, I don't think Lukaku's ever going to be there. I mean, he's at 31 in all competitions, but in just Serie A, I think his ceiling is probably 25, maybe 26 goals, and that's in a really good year. So I guess he could win it, but I'm not expecting it.
No, it's a fair judgment. I think he has been pretty dominant. Obviously, that tandem that he has with Lautaro, or just even on his own, Lukaku has definitely been better than what many people labeled him as coming into Italy, coming into the Serie A. So, we're definitely behind that. We're definitely behind Inter to go further on in Europa League. And quickly, before we do let you go, we'd like to obviously say thank you once again for coming on the pod. Where can we find you, Jerry, your podcast, yourself on social media? Where can all the listeners and followers find you?
Thank you so much. You guys do a great job. I always love joining you for sure.
We appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can find me. Twitter is the best place. I do some Instagram as well. On Twitter, you can find me at Alex Donno. Donno spelled Donno. You can find me on Instagram, Alex Donno plus IMCF at the end of that, because for some reason my name is not available on Instagram, so I added IMCF for Inter Miami, because I do some work for them. And you can find Jerry, my co-host, who's just an awesome guy, opinionated, fun. Jerry Mancini, J Mancini 8 on Twitter, and you can follow our show at Calcio Con Pod. So that's where you find everything. We post the show links and all that good stuff on there.
Yeah, if you don't follow Jerry already, and you're part of Calcio Twitter, you gotta follow Jerry.
You're not living. You're not living. That's for sure. No, Jerry is definitely. When you said opinionated, I was shaking my head. He's very much opinionated, but we do love him here, and we're looking forward to coming back on your pod. We knew we couldn't really iron out the details, but whenever you need, we're always available for you, Alex. But where you can find us on all social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well, at the Calcio Guys. Follow our podcast, listen to our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms, and we'll be back next week to talk more Calcio.
Thanks for listening.
Bye. There we go.
The Calcio Guys is a weekly podcast by Adreano Donardo, Gianni Delacoli, and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. We want to bring Calcio back to its roots in our communities and share stories from around the world about why we're passionate about the beautiful game. You can listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, including Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and Mixcloud. Give us your opinion on social media at The Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The outro song is The Last Ones by Jazar.